But for the most part, these teams are going to be as healthy as they could be this time of season heading into this AFC Championship game. And that's really exciting. And a part of that, what makes it so exciting is Matt Milano. We've mentioned him already. Week 13, he really came back full. He's really been a force in this defense. And how do you think that he's helped this defense kind of right the ship?
Well, he's just a really smart player. He's very rarely out of position, and he doesn't really get overpowered too much. I mean, he makes the most of what he has, and just a really good, solid tackler and an all-around player. It's very rare you kind of see that with linebackers. Either you're either like great in the box or great in coverage, but being really good in both, that's kind of hard to find, and he does that probably even better than Tremaine Edmonds, who's maybe more of a downhill player. But Edmonds is really a rugged old school linebacker with that size that you don't see anymore. I mean, 250 linebackers, well, he's not that, but linebackers today are 230, and safeties are 210. It's that's just keep getting smaller and smaller.
Yeah, and I think what Eric Bieniemy was really impressed by was this Bills secondary. He spent a decent amount of time in the press conference talking about how well they communicate and how well this veteran group can cover. And I think that it's going to be interesting when you see them go against Travis Kelsey, Tyreek Hill, Sammy Watkins could be back. I didn't mention him earlier when we were talking about the injuries, but he's been practicing this week. So how do you think that this Bills secondary stacks up against this Chiefs receiving core?
Yeah, they're really good coverage wise. We saw that last week, and Tre'Davious White is as good as anybody in the league at corner. And but I mean, I don't think anybody can really stack up with Kansas City's wide receivers. You try to man up on them and challenge them. Yeah, you're going to shut down some plays, but all it takes is 2 or 3 plays to go over the top, and then it changes the whole complexion of the game. I think they had it right the first time when they played them. Keep that ball from going over your heads and take your chances with the running game, especially now that Mahomes might not be as prone to run. And that takes that really kind of takes a big part of that out of it. When you have a quarterback, they did a really good job, by the way, with Lamar Jackson, who's the best run of a quarterback ever, maybe. And certainly, of this era of football. So, maybe with Mahomes not even they might not even be dialing up those plays. I think they need to kind of approach it the same way and hope that their defense plays a little bit better this time around, which I think that they will. And plus, they're going to hit on some explosive plays on offense. They were limited the last time. I mean, that was a one-score game until the end. From what I remember. And so, it was really kind of like the Bills' offense was stifled more than the defense was. They're used to scoring 30-plus points a game, and they had a tough time getting in the end zone.
So let's talk about this Buffalo offense because Josh Allen has been one of the more surprising players, I think, of this season. And so, what have you kind of seen in his development that's made him so good? I know a lot of people like to talk about Stephon Diggs coming in, helping his development, and I agree. I think Stephon Diggs has helped. But is there something other in like his mechanics or how he approaches games or what he's now seeing and reading in defenses that has made him so much better?
Well, yeah, I didn't really watch him a lot last year because I really wasn't on the beat and stuff. But I tried because I was trying to always pay attention to the Bills because of my connection with Coach McDermott and everything going back to the Eagles. But I would say this: they worked a lot on him with everything, not just decision making and things, but mechanics. They supposedly lowered his arm slot, did a lot of things, and that's Brian Dable. Really, it's amazing that he didn't get a job, by the way. Be with him for another year, but they worked with him on mechanics, and they also just kept pushing that just don't make bad decisions with the ball. Right. Nothing wrong with dropping back to punt. Yeah, you can make some big plays, you can do some pump fakes, but get rid of that ball. And well, they didn't really punt. I mean, that's the whole thing. They punted less than any team this year, but with that idea that there's nothing there's no crime in dropping back to punt if there's nobody open. But lo and behold, there was always somebody open because he had Beasley. He had Stephon Diggs. They had a bunch of guys, and in the passing game, that there was always something going on there, and they had a rhythm to that play calling with Dable up in the box, and I think that maybe helps. Maybe just that dynamic alone. Sometimes, lots of times, the offensive coordinator is not up in the press box, but you get to see move those chess pieces around a little bit easier up there. And so, they got a really good system here going. And but just the confidence that he's really playing with is nowhere close to even last year at this time when they were up 16-0. And there were turnovers. He was throwing the ball away. He couldn't hit players, and they ended up losing a 16-0 lead, and they fell in overtime. It was a bad call that cost them too, but the quarterback wasn't the same. It was just a different animal than what we see today. You can't even believe it. It's like night and day with him. And I think it's everything. It's mechanics, it's competence, it's the upgrading personnel.
Yeah, I think that the upgrade in personnel has also helped a great amount. Having a receiver like Stephon Diggs, Cole Beasley is one of those guys I think is a very underrated wide receiver, and Brandon Beane just won Executive of the Year from Pro Football Writers Association, mostly because of this move to get Stephon Diggs and what Stephon Diggs has done for this team this year. So what do you take away from Stephon Diggs when you watch him play football? What is the biggest thing that when you get done watching game, you're like, man, Stephon Diggs is really good at this.
He just wants it.
Mhm.
I think you got to have that wanna that factor in you. And he's got that. I mean, he was so happy, I think, to get out of Minnesota, and that he saw a sinking ship there, and he has the chance to come into Buffalo, and he sees this quarterback throwing him these bombs, and he's like, wow, this is great. We have a good young nucleus of players here on offense and defense and special teams. Uh,
Mhm.
just drafted a kicker. The whole bit. Of course, he missed 2 field goals last week. Maybe we'll get to that, but yeah, but they have a really good young nucleus, and he feels like he can help them win like right away. Whereas if he would have remained in Minnesota, look what happened there. Although they would have done a lot better with him, I thought. But it's really, I just felt like a change of scenery really kind of rejuvenated him. And then he saw what it didn't take him long to see what they had here in Buffalo, and he just brings it. I mean, like I said, going into that first playoff game, there was some doubt. And he winked at the people in the Zoom conference. I'm going to play. Don't believe everything you read. There was nothing that was really going to keep him out.